Saturday night, Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Francis Ngannou walks to the cage for the first time since January of 2022, facing Renan Ferreira, who had won his last, I believe, 6 fights, hadn't lost in a few years, reigning PFL champion, knocked out the easiest fight in PFL, Ryan Bader, in February. And
you're a fucking villain for that one.
And
dude. I can't even
stepping into
deny
the
it.
cage. And some people thought if there's a time for Ngannou to show, some signs of decline, it'd be now. His son, tragically, Kobe, passed away earlier this year. He had 2 straight losses in the boxing ring. Well, 1 if we're being honest. And was flattened by Anthony Joshua. So there were a lot of question marks coming in here against a guy that was hot. In the end, it took 3 minutes for Francis Ngannou to double leg, show his Khabib Nurmagomedov style wrestling, and just dominate. Scores a first round knockout, murders Renan Ferreira, if we're being honest. Big Tan Dan was willing to let that one go on a little bit too long, but yeah, Ngannou puts him out cold, and new PFL heavyweight superfight champion. What do you think, Angel?
What a fucking night, dude. We needed that one. We needed that one as fans. What a powerful moment. By the way, the fact that like the emotions took him a little bit to hit him were insane, because you could see there was like an adrenaline dump. I think he got tired.
Yeah,
like he wouldn't. I don't think he actually got tired because of the actual physicality of the fight. But I think obviously with the actual fight itself and the emotions and the outpour, you saw him kind of like sit there and like take it in.
Yeah,
and it was like, fuck, like I just went through this.
Yeah,
I got through this. And like, by the way, the fact that like Dewey Cooper was, you would have thought Dewey Cooper had gone through the most tragic shit in his life, because he was in tears coming over to Francis Ngannou. Eric Nixick coming in the mix, they're getting emotional as well. Perrin himself, I could only imagine how he felt during that whole process. Several fighters have talked about just that whole saga, and Kamaru Usman sharing when he got the call, getting ready to go out with his own family, and how he even was like not about to take the phone call for a second, because he was like literally just about to get ready, hop in the shower, and then he called back Francis and had the conversation, which, then ensued about how, Francis had lost a son. Whatever you want to fucking say, man, like, about the quality of opponent or whatever it may be, like, we weren't sure what the fuck was going to happen in there. And that's what made this fight interesting, because we were on the fence whether or not the fact about if Francis was either had to age himself out, or some people thought there was going to be no changes. Yeah. But there was too many questions to ask, too many questions about Renan Ferreira, too many questions about Francis. And I'd say, to an extent, a handful of them were answered, but there was a hell of a lot of questions still afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, for me, man, I think you put that really well. I mean, and Eric Nixick, I saw him yesterday talking about, like, Ngannou, or earlier this week, talking about, like, whenever he got the call, and Ngannou called him, and he was just like, why do these bad things keep on happening in my life? And it's like, what did I do to deserve this? Or something like that. It's like, Jesus Christ. Like in Ngannou, and he admitted as much. And like you said, there was the adrenaline dump. Like right after he won the fight, he sat in the cage and he just like sat there for like 5 minutes, just on the mat, just like looking around and just like taking it all in. And he fought with those emotions on his sleeve, and there were some people that were worried he would be too emotional or something, but like Eric Nixick even talked about it afterwards. Like, he knew Ngannou going into this fight that this is the most confident he's ever been in, because he knew what was on the line, and he knew he was fighting for his son. And, he wasn't going to come in there cold, one of my great favorite quotes, apathy is death. And Francis Ngannou entered that cage with his emotions on his sleeve. He wasn't going to go in there cold. He knew that he was fighting for his son. And afterwards, he said it. He said this for Kobe, Yeah, and
a man who's been through everything, man. Everything you could fucking imagine. Like, literal poverty, working his ass off, being ridiculed in the professional sense and in the life sense. I mean, you're talking about a kid who was in school and couldn't even pull out a fucking paper to fucking do his homework, or do his classwork, and then would go work afterwards and bust his ass, who lived with his single mom and his sister. And then in his mid to late 20s was like, something, I'm fucking tired of my situation.
26.
And decided to immigrate illegally, get to Europe somehow, lived in a fucking parking lot, and chased the most fucking insane dream that a human being could have of like being a fighter, which is like, dude, even I don't care who the fuck you are. Like, if you lay that out on me and you're saying you're going to chase this fucking dream of like, I'm going to be a boxer. And the fact that he fucking did it. Yeah. Not exactly the path he wanted. And now, like, we're here, and he fucking went through all those trials and failing his first attempt at the title, having to fight a former friend, and then being in this situation with his promotion that have built him up, and getting all this news and then being attacked and doubted time after fucking time, having the fan base on turn against him, and then in losing the fights, yeah, so be it. He's lost in the past, but then to lose, not like in the worst way possible, is losing a life that he created, a life that he got to be a part of and got to experience what a lot of human beings describe as the best moment of their lives, is witnessing the birth of their child, and then what follows after that. I mean, you have to be a different kind of human being to overcome all of that repeatedly, time after fucking time.
Yeah. Well, and in like just the strength that Ngannou showed, man. I mean, just the mental strength, because like I can't relate to that. I can't relate to that at all. But everybody says it's like the worst thing you could possibly ever go through. Like you said, like the joy of bringing a life from this world and having that ripped away from you. And his son wasn't even 2. Like he was young. I think he was like 15
months,
16 months. Yeah, somewhere around there.
15, 16 months.
Yeah, young kid, and out of nowhere, like it's genuinely one of the worst things that can ever happen.
You know, I said it that night afterwards. I was like, you know, they call it like Kamaru Usman might have been in Black Panther.
Yeah,
but Francis Ngannou, that guy's a fucking superhero. That's fucking Black Panther. That's a defender of Wakanda right there. I said it, dude. Yeah. I was like, that fucking guy right there, that guy's Black Panther. That's real life Black Panther right there.
He is a one of one, and I hope that this fight reminded people who the fuck Francis Ngannou is, because, you know, like, dude, this guy, like, he left the UFC heavyweight champion with this was his winning streak. In case people forgot, right? Curtis Blades, first round knockout. Cain Velasquez, first round knockout. Junior Dos Santos, first round knockout. Jairzinho Rozenstruik, first round knockout. Stipe Miocic, second round knockout. Cyril Gane, he fought with his MCL, ACL, and PCL torn. Unanimous decision win.
On top of that, getting the news that he was getting UFC, the UFC was suing him that morning.
Trying to fuck with him. He ends up winning. Then he fights Renan Ferreira, knocks him out too. And that's not even including the boxing run where he knocked down Tyson Fury and arguably beat him. That's not including that. So you're talking about a one of one, a generational talent. And I hope people can acknowledge that. I really hope so. Because to me, dude, he's the predator.
That guy's different.
He's different. And I hope that people like can recognize that and support that while he's here. Dude, put the UFC bullshit. If you're a UFC nut hugger, go ahead. If you want to like suckle at Dana's tit, go ahead. I don't give a shit. That's your thing. That's not my thing. If you want to support him, go for it. Put that shit aside. Put aside the UFC shit. Put aside if you hate him because, you know, he nearly beat your boy in Tyson Fury. Put that aside. Dude, this is a generational talent that has been through. He's lived so many lives in one, and he's 38 years old. And I hope people can recognize that fact. This guy came 26 years old, homeless on the streets of Paris. A decade later, a UFC champion, now a PFL champion, who arguably defeated one of the greatest boxers of all time in his debut and had a successful run in boxing too. I mean, there's a guy who's a generational talent, so well, people can acknowledge that. We do have to move on to what's next.
By the way, is this one of the greatest? Like out of like everybody, every fighter has a unique story. If you're fighting, you probably, for the most part, from what we hear, you probably didn't have the funnest life.
Oh yeah,
you know, you were like, it was either fighting or whatever else.
Yeah, I mean, not too many rich guys get into fighting. Like, funnily enough, Cowboy Cerrone was one of those guys that was,
or really, like at least in a somewhat financially either comfortable or somewhat steady.
Yeah, I mean, if you're, this is not the career path you choose out if you have money.
But out of all the guys, like, what stories could you put up there? You know, we talk about, that's the reason I like fighting, because it's story based, dude. This guy isn't fucking in high school grinding his ass off trying to get to college with a fucking scholarship. Yeah, you know, and hopes to make it professionally. Like, this guy had nothing and made something out of it.
Jose Aldo's another good one. Jose was like
in the favelas.
I believe homeless in the favelas, and then he ended up with Andre Pederneiras.
Dude, Rampage, literally coming out of jail.
Yeah, Rampage is another good one. Was it Jimmy Manuel? I think Jimmy Manuel was like arrested a shitload of times.
Derek Lewis,
another guy.
He was arrested. He was I think he was playing football in college, or he was in college for some sport. I could be completely incorrect.
Another good one, Alexander Gustafsson. People don't even know this one. This guy was like a big troublemaker. Like, got arrested a shitload of times when he was a teenager for like just assaulting people, doing crazy fucked up shit.
Cub Swanson, underrated one. Just grew up in that life, you know, just that thug life.
Yep. Man, who else? There was a flyweight. Was it Uncle Creepy? I think Ian McCall was in like gangs growing up and shit. Yeah. So there's a lot of guys, but for me, Francis Ngannou, number one. I mean, as far as like the most insane story you can have as an athlete, I mean, he's one of one. That being said, we do have to talk about what's next, because now
it's so
he got the win. He got the win, and that's like, got the monkey off your back, bro. That's so to speak. You know what I mean? Like he got the win. He's back. Okay. PFL doesn't have shit. I mean, for lack of a better term, this was the best possible fight you could do. A guy who was 6'8", hadn't lost since 2021, 2020, somewhere around there. Ended the fight on a 5-fight unbeaten streak. Knocked out Ryan Bader. Beat other UFC guys in that stretch, like shout out the Crochet Boss, but not great guys, but people that like UFC fans would know, right?
Yeah.
Who did you fight now? Is it because you're not going to put him up against fucking Litton Vassell or?
I don't really think there is any kind of good option, unless you get someone a free agent. But Anatoly, Matt, like in a ONE FC, some cross promotional thing.
That'd be big.
That's probably one of their better ones. But it's like some people threw out Nemkov.
Nemkov would be interesting, but I think
he does
pose such a low risk.
Yeah.
No, not excuse me. High risk, low reward fight. You know what I mean?
But it's a unique fight, right? Smaller guy, but quick, talent, fader in the corner. I mean, just that. I mean, you could definitely build it up somehow. Dude, fucking BC suggested, I know Kane's not done with this whole trial yet, but do you think you take a big one right before?
Cain Velasquez versus Francis, a rematch?
The fighter.
I wouldn't hate it. But
Kane fights for his freedom. What if could you imagine if these motherfuckers promoted some bullshit like that?
The state of California has told Cain Velasquez if he wins, he walks free. Like
they have sanctioned this fight. You see the purse release.
It's like how in the 90s
life sentence freedom.
It's like how boxing matches in the 90s, they used to have them like in jails and shit sometimes. Like
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I can't remember. Oh man, I think it was Dwight Cowie who was like one of my favorite boxers of all time. It was like a 5'8" heavyweight, and he fought in a fucking prison one time. I think Bernard Hopkins did too once. So
dude, to me, there's only one option, and I think they need to do a 2-fight deal.
Okay, I think I know what you're gonna say.
You already know who I'm gonna say. Yeah. The hardest puncher in boxing, Deontay Wilder versus Francis Ngannou, still gonna have Wilder coming off losses, Ngannou coming off too, but just gotta win an MMA. Let's make it happen. One in boxing, one in MMA. If they want to do it, if they don't want to do that, fuck it, so be it. We'll do the one-off in boxing again. The two hardest punchers in the whole world going against each other.
It sells itself. So
Rumble in the Jungle in Cameroon. PFL behind it.
Now you're speaking my language, brother. Shit. All right, yeah. Hear me out. Hear me out. All right.
Riyadh season, baby.
I know some people are like Deontay Wilder is washed. Yes, he is.
But he still.
I don't give a fuck.
He still has. He's fighting Francis.
He has the power. Dude, Deontay Wilder is going to be 70 years old and still have the power of God in his right hand.
How old is Deontay Wilder?
Oh, man, I think they're the same age.
That's what I'm saying.
Ngannou is 38. Fuck, dude. Oh my god. All right. Deontay Wilder is.
You can tell me.
He's 39. He turned 39
yesterday.
God, dude, come on.
October 22nd, 2024.
PFL, hook us up whenever you book the fight. MMA, boxing, 2-fight deal. You're welcome, okay? Put turkey on it. Put turkey on the case.
Drop the bag on this shit. Drop the bag of this shit. Yeah. You know something? If you want, let's say this. You could do one in Riyadh, one in Africa.
Dude, it sells itself. Like, I understand people are like, he's washed. But like... Dude, like, come on.
But at the same time, though, I'm not gonna lie. If he loses to Ngannou, what excuses? You can't make excuses, right? Ngannou not a professional boxer. He's lost, but you know what I mean. Like, in a way, it's kind of like it could be I guess it's low for a while. I think it's a high risk, low reward. Mm-hmm. For Francis, it's I'd say it's actually both. High risk, high reward.
Yeah, I mean, for Francis, it's like...
Because if he loses, he'd be 0-3 in boxing, and I think he'd pretty much lock himself out of ever having another relevant big boxing
case scenario.
Unless he did it against another MMA guy.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way he'd get another big fight at 0-3.